Honestly, the reason I choose to put leaks and data mines in the rumor section is because just because it exists in a beta form, in some sort of early form in the code, does not mean it is going to find its way into the final game. Hello, nerds! Thank you once again for joining me for your next episode of The Week in Nerdom, where we talk twice a week about all of the nerd and pop culture news that is worth talking about. Just a reminder before we jump into the episode proper to hit that thumbs up button. Let me know you like what's going on here on the channel, because honestly, it does an incredible amount. We're going to talk about all of the social medias and all that stuff after the intro, but the thumbs up here is the big thing. It's free, and then YouTube will start reminding you when I've posted episodes. You don't necessarily have to subscribe, but if you want to subscribe, that would be amazing as well, so thank you very much. That being said, we're going to get into the episode now, I promise. We have some housekeeping to take care of before we get into the news. In housekeeping, we're going to start with shoutouts. We have one new follower on the Twitter, Avi Green, at AviGreen1. I'm pretty sure, I'm like 98% certain this is the guy. Avi is a writer. He honestly writes for a couple of websites that I read for that deal with pop culture and nerd news and such. So welcome to the fold, Avi Green. I'm not sure if you watch or if you just follow on the Twitters, but either way, thank you very much for joining. For the rest of you, if you are not yet joining the conversation, then you are missing out on news, because on the social medias, I talk about the things that don't make it into the actual show, like the Field of Dreams series that's coming to Paramount Plus. We talked about that on the social medias. It's not going to be here in today's show. We do have a couple other things for today that were only on social. So if you haven't followed me yet, at generally_nerdy on Twitter, at Generally Nerdy, all one word, on Instagram and Facebook. Also on Twitch at Generally_Nerdy, though the nerdy has two N's because reasons. Also on Getter, if you are of the more conservative mindset and you get your news that way, then you can find me there as well. Again, at Generally Nerdy. The Nerdy Ninja is the call sign, so look for him and you will find me. That being said, today's episode is brought to you once again by the That being said, today's episode is once again brought to you by the "Do You Even Pop Culture, Bro?" shirt. Can be found if you follow. I'm going to just put the link down in the description so you can follow that. It's going to be one of those top links. Before you get to all of the information for the news, go check out the Teespring store. I think they just call themselves Spring at this point, but go check it out. If you are on the website, generallynerdy.net, then there is a tab at the top that says General Store that will take you there as well. So thank you very much, nerds, for listening to me try to sell you and the things and the stuff. And now we're talking news. For today's music news, we have no follow-ups, we have no corrections, we do have some interesting new music. Our piece of new music comes from a grunge band from the 90s? Kind of. Candlebox, who has been active since the 90s and is from Seattle, so definitely fits all of the criteria therein. They are putting out a new record. That new record is called Wolves. It will be out September 7th, and they just dropped a new single from that called All Downhill From Here. Link down in the description. Pretty solid grunge 90s era alt-rock kind of stuff. I'm a fan. That's why we talk about it on the show. That's all we've got for new music, though, so let's move over to tours. We have an update on a tour that we've covered previously, and it is the Korn tour. The tour that they are currently on is getting shuffled a little bit. So originally they kind of moved some dates because they said someone in the Korn camp had been diagnosed with the COVID. Well, it came out just a couple days ago that someone is Jonathan Davis. At least one of the someones is Jonathan Davis. So Because Jonathan is sick, they cannot do their performances, so they are only rescheduling most of them. There is 2 shows that have been officially canceled. Those 2 shows are Syracuse and Darien, I'm sorry, I can read the notes. Darien Center, both in New York. If you had tickets to those, then you will be contacted by Ticketmaster or whomever you bought the tickets through so that you can get your refund. But there are 6 other dates that have been postponed, so they're getting moved to another time, and it sounds like they will be honoring your existing tickets. So that is what we have as far as the update on the Korn tour goes, but we do have a new tour being announced, and that is Under Oath. Under Oath is going out with Every Time I Die and Spirit Box. So Spirit Box is getting off of the Limp Bizkit tour, which also has been canceled and or postponed or whatever, and they're going out now with Under Oath and Every Time I Die. Name of the tour is the Voyeurism Tour. It starts in February, runs through March of 2022. February 18th in Dallas is the first date. March 25th in Atlanta is the last date. And they basically cover everywhere in between and then some. So it's a pretty huge tour. If this is your bag, I am honestly just now starting to even get into Spirit Box. Every Time I Die, I've always been a little bit into. Under Oath is definitely less been on my radar forever and ever, but either way, it sounds like an interesting tour, especially if you're down for that kind of stuff. So you can find a link down in the description if you are looking to get tickets. So now let's move into proper news for music, and starting things off here is a little bit of a bummer, and that has to do with Dimebag Darrell and Dean Guitars. So Dimebag's widow, Rita Haney, is suing Dean Guitars because apparently there has been a management shift over in Dean, and now the kid of the guy who Dimebag signed his deal with is the one in charge, and he's basically a disrespectful I don't even know, millennial, I would imagine. So it said that Dimebag's been dead for 16 years, we can't make money, and then proceeded to do some shady business behind closed doors. So Rita Haney saw that, said, hey, maybe we can come to an amicable agreement here. He was kind of a douche to her, and now it sounds like everything is just coming to a head with a lawsuit. It really sucks that this is happening because it sounds like there was honestly still more stuff that Dime himself had designed that was supposed to be coming out within the next couple of years or so, and is now just dead in the water because this relationship is ending, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be a clean end either. If there's any other major developments here, we will definitely keep tabs and keep you up to date, but that is what we have for now. So then we have our final piece of news, and it's also a bit of a bummer. The Cure bass player, Simon Gallup, has announced that he has left the band. So Robert Smith, the lead singer of The Cure, has said previously that if Simon were to leave the band, then it wouldn't be The Cure anymore. Now, granted, Simon has definitely left the band before. He also was not the original bass player, so it is conceivable that they can continue to make music without Simon Gallup. However, this is a very strange time for him to have left the band, especially considering that he said things along the lines of, I'm just tired of being deceived as one of the reasons why he left. Did not elaborate as to where that deception was coming from, if it was management, if it was other band members, what have you. But that was, I'm not quoting him verbatim, but that was kind of the gist of what he was saying. But this is all coming shortly before they release what is presumed to be their final 2 records. According, again, to Robert Smith in recent interviews, he has said that they recorded 2 albums within the last year and a half, 2 years or so, and are both in the final mixing process and should be released sometime in the next year or so. And then he said, that's it. There's not going to be any more studio music from The Cure. He did not say that they weren't going to go on tour, but he did say this is very likely the last 2 albums that The Cure will ever release. So really, really strange situation. It's presumed that Gallup is the bass player on the recordings. So I don't know. It just seems like a really interesting situation. As more, again, develops, we will be keeping tabs on this, even if it is a minor situation at this point, just because I feel like we need a little bit of resolution, a little more clarity. But that is all we have for music. Gaming and Tech is going to be quite quick because we only have one piece. The one piece today for Gaming and Tech has to do with Dead by Daylight. The game has just announced their next DLC is going to be Hellraiser, so Pinhead is going to be chasing you through the woods. And there has not been, as far as I could find, there was not an official release date, though. The next round of betas for whatever I'm not a Dead by Daylight player, I apologize, is going live today as I'm recording this, so yesterday as you're watching this. And yeah, it's pretty freaking huge. All of this also, and we're about to lose the Stranger Things DLC from Dead by Daylight, which again, not sure exactly how that works, but figured those of you who play the game would want to know. That is all we have for Gaming and Tech though, strangely. Comic books and books, we have a bit more than usual here, and I'm going to start the section off with a little bit of a follow-up in that Free Comic Book Day happened last episode as I was recording, and I didn't mention it at all because that was really the only bit of comic book news and yada 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 yada. I'm sorry. But what did you get at Free Comic Book Day? Because there was legit some great books. So let's have that conversation in the comments or wherever we got to do that. On the socials would be fantastic too. Next is another follow-up, and this has to do with New York Comic Con. New York Comic Con is going in person this year. They are sticking with that, at least for now. So far, October 7th through the 10th are the dates that is going to happen. There is a bit of a caveat to that, though. They are going to have mask requirements for everybody who attends the con, as well as require vaccination proof. So if you have not gotten stuck with the vaccination, then you will not be allowed to enter New York Comic Con, even if you have tickets. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to get your vaccination, then unfortunately you will not be able to go to Comic Con in person for New York Comic Con. Just the way of the world. It is what it is. We're moving on. So let's move into proper news, and we're starting things off with a great little piece from Chuck Dixon. Chuck Dixon is doing a series of vlogs on his YouTube channel, and the most recent one, which you can find linked down low, has to do with how he weaponized everything for Batman, from his cape to the Batmobile to everything. It's pretty awesome. That's all we really have on that without me going into excruciating detail, which you can get from Chuck Dixon's vlog. Again, link down in the description. So moving next into DC Webtoons. So Webtoons is a company that exists. DC makes comic books. They have recently struck a deal that they're going to put out some standalone Webtoon style comics through the South Korean company Naver that owns Webtoons. The idea behind this is, and I quote, "We will appeal to all fans without the need to know or read any previous stories." So this almost kind of lends us to believe some of those rumors that DC Comics are kind of starting to go into the death throes, that they're not long for this world, and this is like something to do with the last-ditch effort, because web comics are a thing and have been for a while, so why did they have to sign this crazy contract when they could just go the Marvel route? And I don't know. We will be keeping close watch on this one. We're moving, though, next into an interesting one also from DC. This has to do with villains, specifically the Penguin and Batman's Rogues Gallery. We are getting the release of a new comic, and that comic is called Gotham City Villains Anniversary Giant #1. It is the 80th anniversary of the Penguin, as well as Poison Ivy and a number of other villains, and they're all going to be featured in this to some degree. Again, it's going to be out in November, and the really noteworthy thing about this is that at least one of the Penguin stories, as it sounds like there's going to be a number of different stories about each of the villains who are celebrating their 80th birthday, but one of the Penguin stories is going to be co-written by Danny DeVito, who played the Penguin, if you remember, in the Tim Burton movie back in the second Tim Burton movie in 91, I believe, is when that happened. But yeah, super awesome. Moving on, we're talking, our final piece is Daredevil related. Marvel has announced that the Daredevil book will be coming to an end. Maybe? So they're saying very specifically that Chip Zdarsky will stay writing Daredevil somehow, but also issue number 36 is going to be the last Daredevil book. They were kind of murky about the details. It does seem, though, that somebody new is going to be taking over the red pajamas and face covering. I don't know. It was very interesting. Issue number 36 will be on shelves in November. That, again, they're billing it as the final Daredevil book, but they're also saying that the Daredevil adventure has not ended. It's a very interesting situation. We will be keeping tabs on this, but that is what we have for comics and books. So TV streaming is going to be our second smallest section for this episode. First being obviously gaming and tech, because we only had one piece there, but this place we have two pieces and they're both going to be very, very short. First up, starting things off, we're talking about the new Star Wars Visions trailer. That's right, it's trailers we're talking about. Star Wars Visions, the new anime series that is coming out very soon. Sounds pretty freaking awesome. The trailer is definitely doing its job. Go check it out, link down in the description. Something to note about this Star Wars Visions series is that it is not going to be 100% canonical as the way they're kind of making it seem. They're using kind of vague language so that it seems that if the fans don't like it, well, they can say, oh, it's okay, it's not canon anyway. But if the fans do like it, they'll be like, oh, well, this is where it fits into canon and blah, 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 blah. So each episode is going to be done by a different production company and a different director. It's going to be anthological in nature. Each episode is going to fall in a different place in the timeline, though they are all going to serve the same purpose of expanding the Star Wars universe under the Disney umbrella. So very interested to see what happens here. That is all we have for that, though. Our final piece I told you it was going to be short. Final piece for TV streaming is Robot Chicken. Season 11 has been announced. We will be getting, we have a trailer for it linked down in the description, as well as September 6th is the release date, September 6th at midnight Pacific time, I believe. Also of note here is they're going to change the release schedule. It's going to go from once a week to 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday. All week long, they have not said how many episodes they're going to do for this season, but it presumably is going to be more than they used to do. Used to be something in the vein of like 13 episodes. Now it sounds like they might be going for something a little more traditional, something towards 20, 24, something along those lines. Don't quote me on that, that's just speculation, but that is all we have for TV streaming. Kicking things off in movies, we have a big follow-up. We have a bunch of follow-ups, but we're starting things with a large one. Dune, the second movie, we're assuming we're getting that far. So Denis Villeneuve has said recently in an interview with an Italian magazine that the focus is going to be shifting from Paul to Chani in the second movie if he gets to make the second movie. Now, there was a little bit of a shift in the original book that happened once we got to the point where Chani enters the story. But being as Zendaya is already in all of their marketing, it doesn't seem like that is going to be where the shift happens. So I'm interested to see. There is a possibility they can pull this off. It is a really slim possibility. That's all I'm saying. So we'll be keeping close eye on this. Our next follow-up has to do with the Spawn movie that is perpetually in production somewhere. So there is a new writer attached to the project. So Todd McFarlane has handed over writing capabilities, though it sounds like he's still holding onto that director's seat for dear life. So Brian Tucker has been brought on to rewrite the existing script. So it sounds like he's going to be telling the same story. He's just going to make it work a little bit better. According to a couple of first-hand accounts, it's not the best script ever. Of note here, before he was brought in to rewrite Spawn, he was a writer for Broken City with Mark Wahlberg and Russell Crowe, so that's pretty big. Also, he's working on the Fugitive reboot, so also pretty big. So it sounds like we have a coherent writer back on the writer's seat. I mean, I'm a big fan of Todd McFarlane, but again, from the sounds of things, it sounded like there was a hot mess on paper that Jamie Foxx and company were all signed on to be a part of. So this is probably a good thing. So next, we're talking about Free Guy, and Free Guy, this is an interesting situation. So this is going to be a real quick one. Free Guy will be released on HBO Max before it is ever released on Disney+. Even though technically Disney owns Free Guy, it's part of the Fox buyout. So there was an existing relationship between Fox and HBO, saying that all Fox properties, after they came out of theaters, and they are going to be in theaters exclusively for a minimum of some sort of time, which was not made clear, but there was a deal that said that once they are out of theaters, before they go to other platforms, they will go to HBO. So in this case, in the modern time, that means HBO Max. So it's going to be, again, an undisclosed amount of time, and it's going to be streaming exclusively on HBO Max after it has left theaters and before it goes to Disney+. So it's a very, very strange situation. It seems though, if this does become a franchise, that will not be the case going forward. And it sounds like that is the thing. That's another rumor that we talked about online, is that there is a possibility this could become a franchise. We're not going to address the rumor in the show because I don't think there's enough time of it existing for this to... Anyway, moving right along. Our next piece has to do with Toxic Avenger. This one is also very quick. We have the announcement that they have officially wrapped on principal photography. So that's huge. We are that much closer to seeing the Toxic Avenger remake from Legendary Pictures. Wow, that is such a weird thing to say. But then we're moving sections. We don't have any trailers necessarily to speak of, so we're going right into the news, and we have an announcement that there's going to be a second Cruella movie. Why? So it seems that the posturing of Emma Stone, potentially threatening to sue Disney for the same reasons that Scarlett Johansson sued Disney, has worked out in her benefit, at least. So the jury is still out on Scarlett Johansson's benefit. But Emma Stone is definitely benefiting from this because she just signed a contract that says she's going to play Cruella one more time, at least, in a second prequel. So it's a sequel to the prequel that still happens before the 101 Dalmatians. Maybe this will be how she starts to hate dogs, because that stinking movie made no sense in the context of it being a prequel to 101 Dalmatians. I'm ranting, we're moving on. Our next piece has to do with Hotel Transylvania 4. This is an interesting one for a larger reason, but the first is the raw news, and the raw news is that Hotel Transylvania 4 is not going into theaters. Sony, who owns the rights, who is making the movie, is going directly to Amazon Prime with this. They have struck a deal for $100 million that says that this movie is going to be released exclusively on Amazon Prime for X amount of time. So Sony is one of the only large movie-making houses that does not have its own streaming service. So it's very interesting what with the whole Crunchyroll Funimation thing from last week. Then we were unsure where Crunchyroll's content was going to be released. Well, now that they have this new relationship with Amazon, maybe that's how it goes. But they've also struck up relationships recently with Netflix, Amazon for other projects. So a lot still hangs in the balance. But I don't know, with them signing another deal with Amazon, it kind of lends one to believe maybe that's where Crunchyroll is going to go. And then you factor into the equation that Amazon is also looking to expand the Asian market. This is an animated thing. Crunchyroll and Funimation are anime. I don't know, just pieces might be falling together. I don't know, let's figure it out, shall we? But that is all we have for movies. Let's talk rumors, shall we? Our first rumor is the inevitable, because all of the secondary and tertiary characters to the big three over on DC have been in the rumor mill as of late. The big three being Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And so all of the secondary characters, so at least with Batman and Superman, we haven't seen a whole lot of Wonder Girl in the rumor mill because she's already, in things. But anyway, Our first big rumor for the episode has to do with Superboy. We talked previously about the possibility of a Red Hood movie coming out. Well, now apparently Superboy is the next one on the list. This, again, assuming that the other rumors about Batgirl and Nightwing and, again, Red Hood are accurate, then Superboy is going to be along the same lines, and that is going to be directly to HBO Max, but it is still going to be feature length, so it's going to technically be a movie, not a series. Just a whole interesting situation. This, in a way, is a rumor based on rumor, because all of these rumors are kind of building on one another, even though technically they stand on their own. So I'm only comfortable going halfway. 50% is the best we can do for this because of that. And I think, honestly, this all kind of makes a little bit of sense. I feel like this would be actually a really good strategy for the people of Warner Brothers. So we're going to give it that 50% because that sounds like a good business model to me, at least. So moving next, we're talking about Star Wars: The Acolyte. This is a really brief rumor, but kind of culturally significant because of what just happened over on Netflix. Star Wars: The Acolyte is rumored to be getting now at least one, maybe two or more episodes for the first season, directed by Mr. Kevin Smith himself. According to the rumor, the reason we haven't heard the official announcement for this yet is because of the debacle over at Netflix that he just got over. Though my money says, honestly, if this is going to happen, the reason we haven't heard about it is because Acolyte is not that far along in pre-production, and also Kevin Smith, as I've said previously, is in the middle of his own movie production right now. So if they're going to make an announcement, now would not be the time anyway. Likelihood that this is a thing, seems pretty slim because he's done a lot of work for the DC TV series, and also, I don't know, just doesn't seem like he's Disney material. Not necessarily in a bad way, just in that his aesthetic doesn't necessarily mesh with their family-friendly aesthetic, if that makes sense to you. So I can't for that reason go above 50%. And honestly, my conscience is telling me is this really shouldn't go above 30% likelihood. So that's where we're going to put this, guys. About 30% likelihood that we will see a Kevin Smith directed episode of Star Wars: The Acolyte. Our next two rumors have video game bases. So first of those two is Halo Infinite. We do have a leak. So again, leaks, and actually this is technically a data mine, and if you follow the link down in the description, there's a video that goes along with it. So it's kind of hard to debunk this, but it is a leak, so it goes in the rumor section. Anyway, Halo Infinite, the leak is a new multiplayer map. It's pretty epic. It's called Launch Site. Honestly, the reason I choose to put leaks and data mines in the rumor section is because it exists in a beta form, in some sort of early form in the code, does not mean it is going to find its way into the final game. So there is still a possibility this won't find its way into Halo Infinite. I really hope it does, because this map looks like a whole hell of a lot of fun. So you follow the link and you let me know what you think of it as well. But right now we're putting it at about 98% likely that this is going to be one of the initial multiplayer maps that launch with Halo Infinite multiplayer. And then our final rumor for the episode has to do with Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. Now, this is a rumor based on rumor. So, Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, this new rumor is saying that trilogy that we talked about in the rumor section a couple episodes ago is going to be, quote unquote, updated for modern audiences. What? So Rockstar has made a name for themselves by being controversial and offensive and all of the things, and considering what modern audiences very likely implies, this is not going to be a good thing, assuming you want to believe the rumor. Censorship doesn't sit well with me as a general statement. Anyway. So likelihood that this is a case. Again, rumor based on rumor, you have to believe that they are doing the updated version of the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. Trilogy, once more, just in case you don't remember, Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Those three movies are supposedly getting an updated version in one box altogether. So the likelihood that they're going to censor and or quote unquote update for modern audiences, as much as I hate to admit it, is pretty freaking likely. Though, rumor based on rumor, 50% likelihood is as high as we will go, and that is as high as we are going because, yeah, I really think if this happens, that's going to happen too. That is what we have for rumors, nerds. That is also what we have for the episode. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. If though you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net, patreon.com/generallynerdy to support more directly, do all of the things. Don't forget, again, to hit the thumbs up and let me know you like what's going on here on the channel. All of that jazz. If you're falling behind in your nerd news and you want to catch up, you can click or tap one of those things to that side of my face. Then you can see other stuff here on the channel. There is going to be some expansions happening here on the channel. Just keep you updated. Thank you very much, nerds. I'm going to head out now. Always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.